So the UFC world is in an uproar right now about Mokaev being cut or not signed to a new UFC contract by Dana White, thus potentially forcing him to sign with the PFL. Here are my thoughts. Now, I'd spoken before about this new age grappling, heavy wrestling style, almost, little to no striking, and how successful it's been for many fighters and how it's going to be successful for so many more fighters, especially coming from Russia, and how that affects, the fight game. And I see what's surprising to me is how many people are actually upset by Mokaev being cut by Dana White. And my response to those people would definitely be that the UFC is not only a results-based sports organization. It's not only about winning. Even though so much about the UFC promotes winning and supports winning and aids winning, and you have to win to make, the most money. It's mostly about entertainment, and that's what I've found so great about Chael Sonnen's platform. Former UFC fighter, still a UFC fighter. Once you're a UFC fighter, you're always a UFC fighter. But he's a legend, and he always puts such a heavy emphasis on the importance of entertainment in the fight business, because again, winning is part of fighting. All right, sports-based fighting. But it's not everything. It's not every single component of fighting. If you're constantly winning, you may not always be the biggest star. Take Bilal Muhammad, for example. He is starting to become more beloved, but a lot of people didn't like him because of how boring they felt he was, including myself. That being said, it's a mixture. Conor McGregor has a number of losses. He'll always be beloved by UFC fans and MMA fans in general because of how entertaining he was. He was a showman. All the UFC fighters who are asked about him refer to him as a showman, as, one of the most entertaining fighters to ever fight. And he's made so much money because of that, because of how entertaining he is. That's why the UFC loves him. That's why he gets what he wants a lot of the time. That's even why John Jones gets what he wants a lot of the time, because of how entertaining he is. Yes, he's done it by winning, but he is entertaining. He's not a boring guy. Have your perception to this information as you will. I'm just saying that he is entertaining. Eye pokes, whatever have you. He's throwing the elbows. He's beating up, number one guys, and he's winning. But he's doing it in style. So, the same thing could be said for Adesanya, Israel Adesanya, Ilia Topuria, who's on the come up. He's going for a lot of knockouts. He's not just point fighting or staying dormant or being hesitant. He's going for the win, and he's going for the win in a risky way, which, 10-1 is very, very, very entertaining to the audience. So what I'm trying to stress here is how important your entertainment value is in the fight business, especially in the UFC, no less, one of the biggest MMA organizations to have ever existed. You got to be entertaining. Mokaev isn't. He never has been. Okay, he's a heavy grappler. The UFC even told him before his fight, gave him a fair warning. Hey, you can't keep leaning on this heavy wrestling style. You got to strike with your opponents too. So I'll make another video going deeper into, that new age wrestling style and how it is specifically affecting the UFC. But yeah, what I'm ultimately trying to say to you guys is Mokaev, at least in my opinion, was fairly cut. He was warned about it. He stuck to it. They set up a really entertaining fight for him. He had bad blood with Manel Kape. He did some, real wild shit to Manel Kape when they met up to take some pictures. A really entertaining fight was set up for him at UFC 304. There was such bad blood during the weigh-ins. They're charging at each other, Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokaev. And once they meet in the cage, one of the most boring performances ever. Mokaev clearly cheating, doesn't get a point taken, ends up winning by decision unfairly. I mean, it's upsetting. And it's even more upsetting to Dana White, who in his post-fight interview had mentioned that he's not doing the, sporadic fight bonuses ever again. If there is a press conference and some well-known fighter screams at Dana to raise the fight bonuses to, let's say, $200,000, Dana will reject it openly and publicly. He will reject it. He's not doing it ever again. And he's fairly not doing it ever again because none of the fighters except for Tom Aspinall, really in this card went for something big. Really risked their chin. And there's a counter argument to be made, like it's late at night, but at the same time, this is the top, level of fighters, the UFC, man. This is where anything can happen. You got to be crazy to compete and win all the time in this organization. It's a heavy hitter organization. It's well known. These guys are experts, pros, the best of the best. So this should be nothing for them. So I do agree with Dana. Call me a dick rider if you want, or whatever the fuck. This is just my honest analysis of what just happened to Evloev. He is clearly saddened by this. A lot of the MMA and UFC community is saddened by this. But I see this as nothing but fair and the right move to make, especially at flyweight. We need more entertaining fighters. And that being said, I will say the Mokaev fight versus Alexandre Pantoja would be interesting. So, that's also a factor. But Mokaev is simply too boring. And especially as champion, nobody would be going to those fucking flyweight fights at all. Anyway, those are my full and complete thoughts on Muhammad Mokaev being cut from the UFC. He's headed to the PFL. I hope that boring rat-looking fuck has fun fighting lesser-known people, and he'll get a belt and pass away in irrelevancy. All right, that's it. Love you guys. What do you think?